से हमारे बीच में उपस्थित सर का सेशन रहेगा। और चूंकि आज थर्ड डे और लास्ट डे भी है, तो हमारे अभी मेंबर्स धीरे धीरे मैं देख रहा हूँ ज्वाइन करते जा रहे हैं। सभी से रिक्वेस्ट है कि आप अटेंडेंस हर सेशन में देते रहिएगा, और फाइनल अटेंडेंस जो है आपकी थर्ड सेशन हो जाने के बाद काउंट होगी, ताकि हम सबको रिकॉर्ड मेंटेन कर सकें। विदाउट टेकिंग मच ऑफ द टाइम, मैं रायपुर ब्रांच के हमारे एक यंग चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट दीपक मेघानी जी को आमंत्रित करूंगा कि आप आइए और हमारे नवनीत गर्ग सर का एक ब्रीफ प्रोफाइल हमारे मेंबर्स के बीच में रीड करिए। दीपक मेघानी जी।
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Navneet sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to all honorable chartered accountant. I'll introduce Navneet sir. Navneet sir is a fellow member of ICI. He passed his BCom from Barkatullah University in 2006 and is qualified qualified his chartered accountancy in May 2008 with AIR 53. He is senior partner of firm Mrs. Navneet Garg and Associates. Navneet sir remains member of Regional Direct Tax Advisory Committee in the year 2013 and 14, formed by IT Department. Presently, he is faculty of Direct Tax Regional Training Institute of Ministry of Finance for training of income tax officers and inspectors. He is on panel of experts in finance and taxation, stream of Doordarshan, and invitee for various programs for discussion as an expert. He has also been regularly invited by FM channels for technical inputs. He is also a regular faculty for National Academy of Customs, Indirect Tax and Narcotics for training of CGST officers. He is faculty for workshops and seminars organized by Madhya Pradesh State Tax Department for its officers and various trade associations. He is very regularly speaker of seminars organized by ICAI, ICSI, Tax Laws, Bar Association, and other professional bodies all across Central India. He runs his YouTube channel by the name CA Navneet Garg to disseminate the GST knowledge amongst chartered accountant and other stakeholders. Navneet has qualified his diploma in information system audit and diploma in insurance and risk management. He has also done a certification course on GST as well as concurrent audit. Navneet has been elected for 2 consecutive terms in management committee of Bhopal branch of ICI in 2013-16 and 2016-19. He has also held the position for Bhopal branch secretary in 15-16, also as a Sikasa chairman in 2014-15 and treasurer of Bhopal branch in 2013-14. We welcome you, sir, on behalf of Raipur branch.
Thank you, Deepak. And without taking much of the time, of the precious time of the members, मैं डायरेक्टली नवनीत सर को अब हैंड ओवर करूंगा और एक रिक्वेस्ट भी करूंगा नवनीत सर से कि सर वी हैव फ्रॉम ऑल अक्रॉस द कंट्री एंड मेनी पीपल आर, जैसा कि हमें 2 दिन से फीडबैक आया है दैट मेनी पीपल आर आस्किंग फॉर हिंदी एंड मेनी पीपल आर सेइंग टू कम्युनिकेट इन इंग्लिश. सो अ पर्सनल रिक्वेस्ट विल बी देयर कि आप एक मिक्स यूज करिएगा सर हिंदी एंड इंग्लिश का, सो दैट साउथ इंडिया से भी कई सारे लोग हैं उनको भी तकलीफ ना हो, और जो मेन हिंदी हार्टलैंड से लोग हैं उनको भी तकलीफ ना हो, तो एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग बेटर हो जाएगी. तो इस रिक्वेस्ट के साथ मैं आपको हैंड ओवर करता हूं फॉर योर सेशन, फॉर योर डेलिब्रेशन. थैंक यू सर एंड वेलकम.
Thank you so much, Ravi ji, Secretary Raipur branch, Chairman Kishore Badia ji, Deepak ji, who has given my introduction, respected fellow members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, all from all across the India. It's a privilege and honor for me to be here and share the something regarding GST as far as government supplies, advocates, and royalty services are concerned. So before we start, let me just congratulate Raipur branch to have this subject in the entire this 9 days, 9 topics, because this is the topic today which we are going to discuss. I feel in last 3 years, this topic is very, very important, but it has not been much deliberated upon. This is, I would say, an untouched area of the GST law. Why it is so and why it is so relevant, we will just try to have an understanding in this 1 hour session. So the topic which has been allotted to me is basically government supply, second is advocates, and third is royalty services. So I'll be deliberating upon 3 major topics. So let's start this discussion. So let us first set the agenda of today's deliberation. That is, we'll be having the 4-step discussion in this 1 hour session. That is taxability of supplies made by government. The words which I have bold and underlined are having very, very significant impact when we discuss it. Second, we'll discuss on taxability of supplies made to government. So I think we are able to understand the difference between these two, supplies made by government and supplies made to government. So we'll be discussing taxability of these both the things. On third point, we'll be discussing the taxability of legal services, that is advocacy services. And on the fourth point, we'll be discussing regarding the royalty services. So these are the 4-point agenda of today's discussion. So let us just start our discussion one by one. First, I am taking the government supplies. What does it mean? Government supplies, whenever we listen this word, one thing which comes to our mind is that there is a person who is supplying certain goods or services to the government. But is it the case? I think it is not. It is having meaning much more than this. So what does this government supplies means? Let us just try and understand. Government supply, when we talk about, it can be classified under two major categories, that is supply of goods or supply of service. That is one part. And the second bifurcation which we can have is supplies made to government and supplies made by government. Fine. So kindly try and understand in this particular aspect, if we have got goods and we have got services. So, and supplies made to government and supplies made by government. So here, the 4 combination which are coming up, and we have to discuss the taxability in these 4 aspects. So first, there could be a supply made to government in respect of goods. The goods are being supplied to the government. Second, government is supplying goods to someone, where the goods are being supplied by the government. To supply of goods to the government and supply of goods by the government. These are two combination in respect of goods, and remaining 2 combination would be supply of services to the government and supply of services by the government. So here we have 4 basic combination in respect of which we need to understand the taxability as far as government supply is concerned. So let's move ahead in this particular aspect. So out of these 4 combinations, 2 combination belongs to good, 2 combination belongs to services. So as far as goods are concerned, so let me be very clear on this point. There is no separate treatment given to the supply of goods made to government or supply of goods made by government. So be very specific. If you are supplying certain goods to the government or the government is supplying certain goods to you, it will have no special treatment. The transaction will be treated at par with normal commercial transaction. So in respect of goods, no separate transaction, no separate treatment has been suggested by the GST law. So out of 4 combinations which we are going to talk about, 2 combinations are striked off because they do not have any special treatment. So they will be treated as normal commercial transaction. But yes, when we talk about services, services are having very, very significant impact if services are being supplied to government or if the services are being supplied by the government. So in that aspect, it is having very, very significant impact. If you supply goods to government or you supply goods to some other person other than government, so it will have a very significant impact as far as taxability is concerned. So we have to be very careful when we are supplying services to the government or we are taking services from the government. Now, the topic which we are discussing today is somewhat it feel like that it is very remote sort of topic and it is not very much applicable to all the cases. But let me assure you, sir, all the participants, that this is the topic which is applicable to each and every of our clients. I think there would not be any business in the India who is not taking any sort of services from the government. If you are doing business in India, you have to take services from government. And if you are taking services from government, you have to go through all these provisions which we are going to discuss today. So probably after today's deliberation, we might feel that in certain cases, we need to pay the tax, but we are not paying the tax, or we are paying the tax, but the service was exempt. So there could be anything like that. So we are discussing this thing one by one. First, so basically now our focus will be shifted to the services rather than on goods, because good is having nothing special treatment in the GST law. So as far as service is concerned, special treatment has been given and certain exemption and reverse charge mechanism has been prescribed. So let's talk about this service. So first we'll have a conceptual understanding and then we'll refine that understanding by legal provision. So first, bear with me. This slide is just for a conceptual understanding, and then by legal words we'll refine the concept. See, what is the schema? What is the scheme of the GST law? Let us try and understand. The scheme is whatever services are provided by the government, there are only three types of services which are taxable on a forward charge basis. Meaning thereby, these three services are there on which the government will pay tax on a forward charge basis. What are those three services? These services are services of Department of Post, services of Port or Airport Authority of India, and services of railways. These are three services basically which are taxable at forward charge. That means government will pay tax on a forward charge basis. Except these three services, whatever services are provided by government would either be exempted or would be taxable on a reverse charge basis. I'm saying this slide is just for conceptual understanding. We'll refine our understanding by legal provision in the further slides. So kindly don't conclude anything right now. So point I'm making here is for the whatever services government is providing, it is either taxable under forward charge mechanism, or these three services are taxable under forward charge mechanism, and except these three services, whatever services government will provide, it will either be exempted or it will be taxable under reverse charge mechanism, meaning thereby that recipient of the service has to pay tax on that. So that is very, very clear. So let's move ahead. So this is the slide which for a graphical presentation, I just want to share you that services provided by government, whatever services are being provided by the government. So these are three services which are taxable under forward charge mechanism. Except these three services, rest all other services which remains are either exempt under notification number 12/2017 or they are covered under notification number 13/2017 under reverse charge mechanism. So these are the points which we need to understand, that what are the services which are provided by government are exempted, or what are the services which are provided by the government, those are not exempted and but chargeable to reverse charge mechanism. So let's move ahead with this. So basically what we have understood right now is no special treatment has been given to the goods supplied to or supplied by government. In respect of services, a special treatment has been given, which we need to understand. So our entire focus has been shifted to services now. Services provided by Department of Post, Airport, Railway, we have discussed all these things. Now, the reverse charge mechanism which is to be paid, it is to be paid by whom? For each and everyone. If I am an individual and I am taking certain services, so do I need to get myself registered just to discharge my tax liability on reverse charge basis on the services which I have taken from the government? So we'll understand all these things. We'll read the relevant entries of notification number 12. We'll read the relevant entry of notification number 13. We'll discuss in the entire 1 hour. So by the way of this flow chart, let's try and understand how the government services, like services may it be provided to government or may it be provided by government, how the taxability will be governed. So services are there. If services are provided by government, so in that case, there could be only three outcomes. Whatever services are provided by the government, there could be three outcomes. First, it would be taxable at a forward charge. So under forward charge, three services are there. That is postal, railway, and port and airport. And except these three services, whatever services remains are either taxable under reverse charge mechanism or it will be exempted. So the point is there. The government service is there. or the services are provided to government. So there could be only two outcomes. That is, either it would be exempted or it would be taxable. So this is the entire taxability. This is in the one single slide, whatever we are going to discuss now. So when we talk about exemption, now we are going towards the exemption part, that what are the services which are provided by the government would be exempted. And then we'll come on what are the services provided to the government will be exempted. So when we'll discuss the entries of notification number 12/2017 one by one, we need to understand the basis of exemption, on what basis the exemptions are being given. So see, under notification number 12, not only in respect of government services, for each and every exemption, we need to understand these three things. First, exemptions are either given on the basis of activity. First, either they say that this is the activity, if you do this type of activity, it will be exempted to whomsoever it is provided, by whomsoever it is being provided. So no matter who is the recipient, who is the supplier, the activity itself is exempted. So that is called activity-based exemption. Second is recipient-based exemption. If the recipient is so and so person, like we'll see that in certain cases, they have said if the recipient is government, then the service would be exempted. So recipient-based exemption would be there. And there are certain services which are provider-based exemption. So if the provider is government or the governmental agency or governmental authority, then only it will be exempted. So these are three pillars on which the exemption stands. Or the fourth thing is that in some of the exemption, they make a combination, like this type of activity, but if it is provided by so and so person, then only it will be exempted. So whatever we are going to discuss will be based on these four pillars. The exemption will stay. If we are going to claim the exemption under any of the entry of notification number 12/2017, we need to understand that which type of exemption is available, then only we can claim the exemption properly. Otherwise, we might have committed a mistake. So let's move ahead. So see, understand. In the previous slide, I have said we have got a conceptual understanding. Now we are refining that conceptual understanding by the legal provision. So that slide which I have shown you earlier, now the legal provision is here before you in this slide. So we are reading entry number 6 of notification number 12/2017. We all understand that notification number 12/2017 is nothing but it is an exemption notification for services. So notification number 12/2017 talks about exemption in respect of services. So in that entry number 6, I am reading before you. So services by, so this point you need to understand very, very meticulously, whether it is a service provided by government or services provided to government, because it will change the entire meaning of the scene. So understand this thing, services by the central government, state government, union territory, local authority, excluding following services. So kindly try and understand what we are going to learn. We are going to learn the things which are out of exemption. First, what they have done, they have exempted all the services provided by central government, state government, union territory, local authority, except these four. So these four are kept out of exemption notification. That means these four services are taxable. These four services are taxable, what we are going to discuss. So services by Department of Post, by way of speed post, express parcel, life insurance, agency services provided to or by a person other than central government, state government, union territory. So kindly try and understand this thing. All the services of Department of Post are not made taxable. All the services provided by the Department of Post are not kept outside the exemption purview. They have kept only these services out of exemption purview. What are those services? That is speed post, express parcel, life insurance, agency services provided to any person other than central government, state government, or union territory. Meaning thereby, if the Department of Post is providing speed post services to the income tax department, so in that case, GST won't be applicable. GST will not be applicable. It is exempted. So this is the first point. Because in the previous slide, I have mentioned the postal services. So all the postal services are not taxable under forward charge. Only these type of services are taxable. So speed post, express parcel, life insurance, agency services provided to a person other than central government, state government, and union territory. This is in respect of postal. Second, service provided in relation to an aircraft vessel inside or outside the precinct of the port or an airport. So this is basically, this is talking about the parking charges which the Airport Authority of India collects from the airlines. So these type of services are covered. So not very frequently used in day-to-day life. That is there. And third is transportation of goods or passenger. So transportation of goods or passenger, as far as my understanding is concerned, there is only railways through which the government supplies the transportation of goods and passenger services. I don't find any other government agency who is doing the transportation of goods and passenger by this. So in that case, the railway has mentioned. And these are three services. And fourth service is what? Kindly try and understand. This is very, very crucial entry. Very, very crucial entry. Any service other than covered A to C above to a business entity. Meaning thereby, what we are understanding. In this particular entry, we are understanding the services which are kept outside the exemption notification. So what has been kept outside the exemption notification? Any services which is not covered under these three to a business entity. That means, अगर हम इसको इस तरीके से पढ़े, if we change the phrase, so in that case, what is going to happen? Any service other than services covered A to C above to a non-business entity. That means if the services are being provided to a non-business entity by the government, so in that case, it is covered under exemption notification. It is exempted. So in that case, what we are trying to understand here is, if the government is providing services, if the services are being provided to any business entity, then only exemption shall not be available. If the government is providing services to a non-business entity, so in that case, exemption shall be available. Meaning thereby, I'm going to construct my house, and for construction of house, I went to my local authority and asked for a building permission. Local authority people said, please deposit 50,000 rupees, then only you will be granted a building permission. So for example, so in that case, that house is for my personal consumption. It has nothing to do with my business. So I am an individual. I am not a business entity. So whatever 50,000 I'll deposit, do I need to pay tax on that, or will it be exempted? So by the way of this entry number 6 of notification number 12/2017, it shall be exempted. Any services other than services covered A to C above provided to the business entity has been kept out of exemption notification. Only services provided to the business entity would be taxable. So this is the point which I just try to convey to you. Now, another point which I have made just 10 minutes before, that is, except these three services, the services of post, port and airport, and the railways, all other services are taxable. All other services are either exempted or it is taxable under the reverse charge mechanism. So let's move to notification number 13/2017, which talks about reverse charge. That the services on which the reverse charge has to be paid. So we are going to discuss section 9 subsection 3 and notification issued under this particular section. So entry number 5 we are talking about. Entry number 5 says what? Entry number 5 and 5A we are going to discuss right now. So entry number 5 says services supplied by the central government, state government, union territory, local authority to a business entity, excluding. Kindly note this thing that here also they are using the word to a business entity. That means if these type of services are provided to any person other than business entity, so in that case, nothing doing, then reverse charge will not be applicable. So what are these services? So there are 2 points basically. First is renting of immovable property. So you will say that renting of immovable property is a new entry in this particular case, but it is not a new entry. 5A is the separate entry for which they have made the provision. So renting of immovable property is the first thing, and services specified below. Services specified below in this 1, 2, and 3 point is exactly same which we have discussed in notification number 12. That is services of Department of Post, Department of that is Port and Airport, and GTS transportation of goods and passenger. What does it mean? Kindly try and understand this thing. Meaning thereby, except these 3 services, all other services are covered under notification number 13, meaning thereby all these services are chargeable to tax under reverse charge mechanism. So all other services are chargeable under reverse charge mechanism. So in that case, the recipient has to pay the tax. Only 3 services are there on which the tax will be levied on a forward charge basis. Those 3 services are postal, port, airport, and railways. That's it. Except all other services which are provided by the government would be taxable under reverse charge mechanism because of entry number 5 of notification number 30/2017. Now, we have to check whether these services are exempted. If yes, then there is no tax liability. If they are not exempted, then the recipient need to pay the tax on a reverse charge basis. So in that way, we need to understand this thing, that whatever services we are taking from the government, when we are finalizing the accounts of our client, we have to take care that whatever services our client has taken from the government, may it be a renewal fees, may it be ROC fees, we'll be discussing that also, the taxability of ROC fees, or any other license fee or any other renewal fees, whatever fees we are paying to the government, whether it is exempted, if not, so in that case, whether the tax has been paid on a reverse charge basis or not. If not, then we, being an auditor, it is our responsibility to recommend that liability to pay on a reverse charge basis. Now, so this is the point, that is supply of services by central government, state government, union territory, or local authority to a business entity. So who is liable to pay the tax under reverse charge mechanism? Any business entity located in taxable territory. So kindly try and understand this thing very, very carefully. Any business entity located in taxable territory means what? I am a small trader whose turnover is below 40 lakh rupees. I am the trader of goods. My turnover is below 40 lakh rupees. And I am taking certain services. Say, for example, 500 rupee fee I have paid to the local authority for some Gumashta renewal or the Shop Act registration or whatever. Do I need to pay tax on reverse charge basis? Just because of this transaction of rupees 500, do I need to get myself registered and discharge my tax liability on rupees 500? Is this the case? So kindly hold on. We'll discuss all these issues in a subsequent slide. So we'll be discussing that. Now let's move to another entry, entry number 5A. Entry number 5A talks about what? Services supplied by the central government, state government, local authority, or by the way of renting of immovable property to a person under CGST Act. So this is the separate entry which they have created for renting of immovable property. So what is the difference between entry number 5 and entry number 5A? Kindly try and understand. Entry number 5A imposes the liability to pay the tax on the registered person only. Entry number 5 imposes the liability on any business entity located in taxable territory. However, entry number 5A imposes the liability on the registered person under whosoever is registered under GST law, that has to discharge the tax liability. That means if I have taken certain immovable property on rent and I am not registered under the GST law, so just because of this particular entry, I need not to get myself registered. So this is the point which we need to understand. So entry number 5 is another entry. 5A is different entry. So difference between these two entries is what? Entry number 5 talks about any business entity located in taxable territory. However, entry number 5A talks about any person registered under GST law. So this is the difference. This is the discrimination we need to understand. So in this particular case, I am continuing with my example. What my example was, I am a simple trader. I am a normal trader of goods. My turnover is 25 lakh rupees, well within the threshold limit of not getting registered. Now I have paid 500 rupees to someone, some government agency or the government for taking certain registration or whatever purpose. Now, do I need to get myself registered to discharge my tax liability on a reverse charge basis by virtue of entry number 5 of notification number 13? So if we stop our reading till notification number 13 itself, then yes, we need to discharge our tax liability and we need to get ourselves registered. But hold on, there is another entry, that is entry number 7 under notification number 12. My request to all of you is that kindly understand this thing, that notification number 12 is the exemption notification and 13 is the notification for reverse charge mechanism for services. So whenever I am referring to notification number 12, kindly understand it is the exemption I am talking of. And whenever I am referring to notification number 13, I am talking of reverse charge mechanism. So this is entry number 7 we are talking of. So entry number 7 of notification number 12/2017 we are discussing. So entry number 7 gives an exemption to these type of person who is having turnover below the threshold limit of getting registered, and they have procured certain services from the government. So in that case, the exemption has been granted. Since the exemption has been granted, hence that the small trader need not to get himself registered just because of reverse charge provision. So what is the provision? Kindly try and understand this thing. Services provided by central government, state government, union territory to a business entity with an aggregate turnover up to the threshold limit for not getting registered. So in that case, this exemption has been granted. So there, you might have certain clients who are having turnover well within the limit, well within the threshold limit for not getting registered, and they have, if they have procured certain services from the government, they have to, because for starting, for commencement of business, you need to have some sort of licenses or some sort of authorization from the government, and for that the small nominal fees you have to pay. So in that case, the reverse charge liability would not arise. Why it won't arise? Because of entry number 7 of notification number 12. Because the trader below the threshold limit or the service provider below the threshold limit, they have been exempted. So since the service itself is exempted, there is no question of discharging the tax liability on a reverse charge basis. I am moving ahead with one very crucial issue, one very food for thought I am giving you. That is, there is a what shall be the situation where the person is engaged in providing exempted services only, having aggregate turnover exceeding the threshold limit, and making payment to government for certain services. Example, the live example we are taking. We all have come across this type of situation. There is a hospital providing purely exempted services, no taxable services being provided by a hospital. Now, one fine day, the pollution control board comes to the hospital and say, sir, please pay 10,000 rupees as a pollution control board fees, because you are generating some wasted bio waste and so many things you are generating. So pollution control board comes to the hospital and charging certain fees. So for example, 10,000 or 5,000, whatever it is. Now, what shall be the situation? Because hospital, since it is providing entirely exempted services, there is no tax, outward tax liability on it. But just because of this particular case, for pollution control board, because it is a government agency for regulating pollution, so in that case, whatever fees is being paid by the hospital to the pollution control board, so yes, since the aggregate turnover is crossing the threshold limit for not getting registered, so in that case, hospital has to get himself registered for discharging the tax liability on this particular smaller amount. 10,000 rupees, the tax liability would be 18%, so 1,800 rupees only. Just for to discharge 1,800 rupees only, the hospital has to get himself registered. So this is the anomaly which is creating lot of trouble in the industry. So these type of institutions, may it be hospitals, may it be schools, or may it be colleges, who are not required to get themselves registered under GST law for their outward supplies, but for inward supplies, they might have to get themselves registered under the GST law. So this is the one case study which we have done right now. Let's move ahead. What are other exemptions available? So before concluding anything, whenever we are finalizing books of accounts of our client, so before concluding anything, what we need to do is we need to look at all these entries. I'll share this presentation with you all, because I have chosen the relevant entries which are applicable on government supplies. There are multiple entries in notification number 12 of 2017, but as far as government services are concerned, I have chosen the limited entries which are applicable in case of government services. So presently, right now, what we are discussing, we are discussing services provided by government. We are not discussing services provided to government. That we'll be discussing in the later part. So services provided by government, what else is covered? So by central government, state government, union territory, local authority to another central government, state government, local authority. So if the services are government to government services, if one government department is providing services to another government department, that then it is exempted under notification number 8. We might have certain clients who are government or the state government or the local authorities. So in that case, entry number 8 will come into the picture if the services are between government to government, one department to another department, may it be CGST, central government to state or state to central, whatever it is exempted under entry number 8. Entry number 9 is very, very crucial entry, very, very crucial entry. Right now, I have discussed one thing, that a very smaller amount, like 500 rupees we have paid to a government, the state government, we have paid 500 rupees for certain, license or whatever. So in that case, do I need to pay reverse charge if I am registered? So answer would be no. But why it is no? Because of entry number 9. Entry number 9 gives the exemption where the consideration does not exceed 5,000 rupees. Where the consideration does not exceed 5,000 rupees. See, here I just want to discuss one more case study with you. What shall be the taxability of fees paid to registrar of companies? We all deal with corporate clients. In companies, one fees is always given in a year if there is no change. That is annual return filing fees. So whenever we file annual return before registrar of companies, what we need to understand. So 500, 300, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 10,000, whatever it is, it depends on the authorized share capital and all. These are the fees which we pay to the registrar of companies. So in that case, do we need to file, do we need to pay tax GST on a reverse charge basis on these particular ROC fees? So answer is yes. Whatever fees we pay to the registrar of companies are chargeable under reverse charge basis. But the small fees below 5,000 rupees, we need not to pay any reverse charge tax on reverse charge basis because of entry number 9. Like if there is change in director and 500 rupees challan has been paid. So in that case, we need not to discharge our tax liability under reverse charge mechanism just because of this entry number 9. Because entry number 9 says any service provided by the central government, state government, unit will not pay 5,000 rupees. So whatever for change in director intimation, 500 rupees is being charged because what ROC is doing, ROC is providing services to you. ROC is providing services to you for updating your record in their records. So in that case, for that they are charging 500 rupees to you. So in that case, since the consideration is not exceeding rupees 5,000, hence it shall be exempted and RCM is not required. But yes, like if you have increased your authorized share capital from, say for example, 10 lakhs to 1 crore, there might be ROC fees of 50,000 or 60,000 some odd rupees. So in that case, do you need to pay the tax on reverse charge basis? Answer is yes, you need to pay tax on a reverse charge basis. And this threshold of rupees 5,000 is on transaction to transaction basis. It is not on yearly basis. Meaning thereby, if there is a challan of rupees 500 and there are n number of challan like 20, 30, 40, 50 challans, nothing doing, no tax is to be paid on a reverse charge basis. It is on a per transaction basis limit. It is not an yearly limit. So that is the point. Then 9C can be used in case of NGOs by the central services provided by government, central government, state government, union territory, local authority to any person specified where the consideration is in the form of grants. Where the government gives grant to someone and say this type of activity you need to do. So in that case, that grant is exempted. So exemption specifically has been granted under entry number 9C. Similarly, by old age home, consideration up to 25,000 per month. If some government is running some old age home and 25,000 per month is being charged from the residents, so in that case, to the extent of 25,000, it is exempted. More than that, it will be accepted. Moving ahead, what other entries, what other services are there which are exempted? So by central government, state government, union territory, local authority for registration under any law, testing, calibration, check or certificate. So kindly try and understand this thing. This is the very big entry. This is very, very crucial entry because when we talk about a company, if you are going to incorporate a company, you pay certain fees to ROC for incorporation work, for registration of company. If you are paying certain amount in the name of registration under any law, So in that case, it shall be exempted. So whatever services you have taken from government, you need to check whether those services are falling within this entry number 47 or not. See, because in last 3 years, let me confess, there are so many clients in which they have taken the services from government, but we have not advised our client to pay the tax on reverse charge basis. Since we have not discharged, we have not advised them to discharge their tax liability on reverse charge basis, so today the liability is there, but we cannot avail input tax credit on that. So in that case, what shall happen? It is purely a liability along with interest and penalty if the department comes to us and say that you have not paid the tax on reverse charge basis. So in that case, ITC won't be available, but the liability along with interest and penalty would be there. So we need to take care of this entry, that is entry number 47, that is registration under any law, testing, calibration, check or certificate. So in that case, like fire safety NOC, we have to take like in case of builders, and so on and so forth. There are so many things. So for each and every service, we need to take care whether this 47 is there. For builders, there is registration with RERA for each and every project. And in case of real estate projects, the ITC is not available in new projects. So in that case, this entry would be of great help for us, that for registration under any law. Real Estate Regulation Act is a law, and in which if you are getting yourself registered, so in that case, liability won't be there. Similarly, in Companies Act, if the company is being incorporated in whatever ROC fees you are paying, you need not to discharge your tax liability. So these are certain points which we need to take care of, and by the virtue of this entry, we can save a hell lot of tax of our client and hell lot of litigation for our client. That is the point. Next, entry number 61 is there, which talks about for issuance of passport, visa, driving license, birth certificate, death certificate. So I think these all are the services which are generally taken by non-business entity. If I am taking passport, it is my personal affair. It has nothing to do with my business directly. So whatever fees I am paying, it is exempted. If it is for business also, then also it shall be exempted. So these are the categories. Sorry. Entry number 62 talks about central government, state government, local authority by way of tolerating non-performance, for which the consideration is in the form of fines or liquidated damages by central government, state government, union territory, and local authority. So if the government is providing this type of services, like PWD department is there, which is saying that this road has to be constructed within 6 months. But if you do not construct this road within 6 months, will charge 5% of the contract value for every week. And so, for example, 20% liquidated damages has been charged on that. So in that case, what government has done, the government has provided this type of services tolerating the non-performance, and for which the liquidated damages are taken. So in that case, whether it is chargeable to tax or not, whether it is chargeable to tax under reverse charge mechanism or not. So answer is no. These type of liquidated damages are not chargeable to tax. Otherwise, this entry would not have been there. If this entry would not have been there, what would have been the situation? The contractor whose liquidated damages has been deducted by the PWD department or any such sort of agencies, he need to discharge the tax liability on a reverse charge basis. But by the virtue of this particular entry, they need not to discharge their tax liability on RC. Then central government, state government, union territory, any training for which the total amount is borne by the central government. So not very useful, not very frequently used entry. So these are certain entries, these are certain exemption entries under notification number 12, which says that whatever services you are provided to the government, provided by the government, would not be covered here. So I think I'm running short of time. So I'll be just completing the session, considering all the other issues. Issues involve MCA fees we have discussed, property tax paid to the local authorities. Property tax paid to the local authorities, if we talk about, so we need to differentiate between two things. One is called statutory levy, and second is called fees for certain services. So property tax which the local authority is collecting, the local authorities are authorized by the constitution to collect the property tax on the properties falling under their jurisdiction. It is a statutory levy. It is a statutory levy. Since property tax is a statutory levy, hence the tax cannot be asked on a reverse charge basis on this particular. So property tax is a statutory levy, it is not a service. However, whatever water charges are being collected by the local authority or cleanliness charges are being collected by the local authority or any other sort of service charges are being collected by local authority, that can be subject to tax, but the property tax, since it is a statutory levy, it cannot be covered. RERA and building permission fees I have already talked about. Now, we are moving towards another very crucial entry, that is entry number 3 and 3A of notification number 12/2017. What it talks about is, this talk about services provided to government. Right now, what we are discussing, we were discussing services provided by government. We were the recipient. Now, what we are saying, we are the service provider and the government is the recipient. So very big entry is there, entry number 3 and entry number 3A. Entry number 3, what it says, if you are providing pure services to the government, pure services means it does not involve any sort of goods. Pure services, if you are providing to the central government, state government, union territory, or local authority. So these 4 words we are constantly using, but 2 new words have been inserted in this particular entry, that is governmental authority or the government entity. So the definition has been given under this notification. Actually, I'm running short of time, so I'm not discussing these 2 meaning of these 2 words, that is governmental authority and government entity. So governmental authority and governmental entity. So in that case, if you're providing services to these agencies, but in relation to any function entrusted to them under article number 243W and 243G of the Constitution, so in that case, the exemption shall be granted. So there is one advanced ruling authority recently announced, in which what they have said, the manpower services are provided to the panchayat is covered under this particular entry. What they are saying, see, under this entry for claiming exemption, what you need to satisfy. First, you are providing pure services. Pure services means there should not be any goods involved in that. That is okay. Services are provided to either central government, state government, local authority, union territory, governmental authority, and government entity. So that could be satisfied. The very crucial part which has to be satisfied is services are provided by in relation to the functions entrusted to the panchayat under article 243W and 243G. When you read these articles of the Constitution, it refers to 2 schedules, schedule number 11 and schedule number 12, wherein the list of works has been given. If these type of works are being done and these type of services are provided to the state government or the central government or these type of agencies, then exemption shall be available. So if you are dealing with any client who is providing any services to any sort of government agencies, kindly check this entry, whether your services are covered under these type of schedule 11 or schedule 12. If yes, so in that case, exemption shall be available and you need not to discharge your tax liability. So that is the crucial part. And entry number 3A is also there. The difference between entry number 3 and 3A is just that 3A permits you to have a involvement of goods to the extent of 25% of the value. Like just by an example, I want to clear this concept. That is, entry number 3 talks about pure services. Like if we are providing water supply services for the local authority, like in summer season where the water shortage is there, we generally local authorities provide engage some other subcontractor to provide water supply. So if water supply services we are providing to the local authority, it will be covered under entry number 3. But if the local authority is giving water cleaning services in which some chemical, chlorine and other chemicals are being used, but the value does not exceed 25% of the total value of the contract, so in that case it will be covered under entry number 3A. Then also it shall be exempt. But if the value of goods involve more than 25%, then exemption shall not be available. So this is the point which we need to understand very, very carefully. What is the meaning of governmental authority, government entity? Each and everything has been given under the notification. All these are defined words. Due to paucity of time, I am not able to explain it properly. Other crucial parts are also there, which we need to understand. Fine. So moving ahead with 2 other aspects which I need to cover is legal services. Legal services, the taxability of legal services we need to understand. As far as legal services are covered, it is a defined word. So legal services are defined under notification number 13. So legal services provided in relation to advice, consultancy, assistance to any branch in the matter, and it includes representational services before any court, tribunal or authority. So whatever legal services we are providing, whatever legal services are being provided, we all understand that legal services, the liability to pay is always on the recipient. But we need to understand what sort of services are there which are exempted. So for that, again, we need to go to the notification number 12/2017. So we need to understand the exemption notification. If we are able to understand the exemption notification, then only we can discharge our tax liability on a proper way. So legal, in respect of legal services, they have bifurcated the exemption under two basic category, that is services provided by an individual or firm of individual advocate or firm of advocate other than senior advocate. We all understand that senior advocate is a designation which is given by some high court or supreme court to the advocates for having certain years of standing. So in that case, presently we are discussing the exemption which has been given to non-senior advocates. So what are the exemption? The advocate or partnership firm of advocate providing legal services to other partnership advocate. So first thing is that advocate to advocate services are exempted. First thing. Second, person other than business entity. So for example, I am an individual and I have certain dispute related to some property which has nothing to do with my business. So in that case, I need not to discharge my tax liability on reverse charge. Business entity up to the turnover for not getting registered. So in that case, they are also exempted. And the services provided to the central government, state government, union territory, local authority, governmental authority, and government entity. There is one case like one PSU power company, like Madhya Pradesh Madhya Kshetra Vidyut Vitran Company Limited. This is the live case of Bhopal, in which they have engaged one advocate, and on which the issue was whether they need to pay the tax on reverse charge basis or not. But this entry, the fourth entry which we are talking of, has been inserted later on. It has been inserted with 25th of January 2018. Initially, this entry was not there. So the whatever services are taken by the governmental entity or governmental authorities between 1st July 2017 to 25th of January 2018, it will be chargeable to reverse charge basis. So this is the case of legal services. Exemptions have been granted to the person other than senior advocate. Now let's talk about where the senior advocate is providing services. So what are the exemptions available? So exemptions are exactly same. In the previous slide, there were 4 exemptions. However, in this slide, the services provided by senior advocate, there are only three exemptions have been given. So one entry which is missing in the senior advocate part is that an advocate or a partnership firm of advocate providing legal services. Meaning thereby, consider a situation where the senior advocate is providing services to a non-senior advocate. Say for example, I am just assume that Mr. X is an advocate who is not a senior advocate. They have got a certain case for which they need a service of a senior advocate, and that individual advocate is taking certain services from senior advocate. Would that non-senior advocate be required to pay tax under reverse charge basis? That is the question. But for that, the explanation has been given under notification number 13/2017, in which they have clearly said that the advocate firm would not be considered as business entity for the purpose of discharging the tax liability on a reverse charge basis. So by that way, if an individual is taking certain services from a senior advocate, that individual advocate or firm of advocate need not to discharge its tax liability on a reverse charge basis. So this is certain issue related to this. There are some more issues related to legal services, but the time is very short. Let me just come on this royalty part, and then we'll just conclude. I think I have just 5 minutes more. In respect of royalty, a lot of discussions are going on in the entire country. One very crucial part is that in respect of royalty, like government provides certain land or the quarry to Mr. X for mining of certain minerals, and that person mines the minerals and pay the royalty to the government at a pre-decided amount. We all are paying royalty to the government. earlier the tax rate was at the same rate which is applicable on the goods. Like if we are mining the sand, so whatever tax rate is applicable on the sand was applicable on the royalty itself. But from 1st January 2019 onwards, the tax rate has been prescribed at 18%. So whatever may be the rate of tax on the goods which we are mining, now you have to pay the tax at the rate 18% on this royalty. So this is the present situation. And in most of the cases, what is happening, the person who is doing mining work, for all these mining works, the ITC is getting accumulated day by day. So I am not concluding anything, but I just want to give you one food for thought. I have just found one entry, that is entry number 52, list 2 of schedule number 7 of the Constitution, which empowers the state government to levy tax on the mineral rights. So the first and foremost point of discussion would be whether the royalty is taxable or not. Why I am saying so, let me just clarify, because entry number 50 of list 2, that is the state list of the Constitution, says that state governments are empowered to collect tax on the mineral rights. And in various Supreme Court judgments, it has been decided that royalty is nothing but a tax on a mineral right. So Constitution empowers the state government to take a tax on a mineral right. Supreme Court says that whatever royalty you are collecting, whatever royalty is being collected by the state government, it is nothing but it is tax on the mineral rights. So mineral rights, whatever tax you will collect is a royalty. So if I consider all these things, so I would say the royalty is not a service charge, it is a statutory levy or it is a tax. And how you can demand me the tax on tax? Because if you say that you need to pay the tax on a reverse charge basis on royalty, so if royalty itself is a tax, how you can demand me the tax on tax? So that is the one argument which one may take in the legal cases. So presently, this is the one sort of argument we have, but the present situation is that we all are paying tax under reverse charge basis on royalty. But there was a difference in tax rate up to 31st December 2018. The tax rate was the same as the goods have. From 1st January 2019 onwards, the tax rate has been increased to 18%. So these are certain points which I just wanted to make you aware. So I think with the given point of time, it's just 5 p.m. So I just conclude my session here. If any questions are there and if the organizer permits, I would love to answer all these questions.
Sir, I think one or two question has been there in chat.
Sure, sir. Sure. Please, can you please read, sir?
Just a second, sir. Is the renewal fee paid for certain licenses like FSSAI is taxable under RCM?
Which type of, sir?
Sir, a renewal fee paid for certain licenses like FSSAI.
Okay, fine. Since, sir, renewal fees for certain licenses, see, you have to check whether it is a registration fees or it is just a renewal fees. If you need to get, if that law says that you need to get yourself registered each and every year, if it is a registration fees, then it would be exempted. But if it is a renewal fees, so you have to check whether it is within 5,000 rupees or not. If it is within 5,000 rupees, then yes, it is again exempted. But if it is more than 5,000 rupees, then yes, it is taxable. So multiple entries are there under notification number 12. You have to check in which entry your case is falling. So in whatever case in whatever entry your case is falling, if you can satisfy that particular condition, so in that case exemption would be available.
One more question is, sir, royalty paid on forest product covered under RCM? Is it covered under RCM?
Yes. All the forest products on which the royalty is being paid. So recently, I think just 1 month back, there is one advanced ruling of Uttarakhand Mining, Uttarakhand Forest Department. Exact name I am not remembering, in which it has been held that whatever royalty is being charged by the Forest Development Department, it is chargeable to RCM.
Okay, and एक last question ले लेता हूँ sir मैं. Government department like PWD deducts amount from contractor bill on amount of royalty. Is it taxable under RCM?
I think no. because see, royalty, if you are directly paying to the government, then only it is chargeable to RCM. If the department is deducting some sort of royalty, then I don't think that it is chargeable to RCM, because this is the point which on which there are multiple opinions are there. In my opinion, in my humble understanding, it is not chargeable to RCM.
ओके सर, क्या क्वेश्चंस तो और भी बहुत आ रहे हैं, बट टाइम को ध्यान में रखते हुए हम एक क्वेश्चंस के पूरे बना लेंगे, एक सेट आपको भेज देंगे, वी विल सेंड टू यू, आप उसका एक जवाब दे दीजिएगा, तो वी विल सेंड इट टू रिस्पेक्टिव पर्संस ऑन देयर मेल आईडीज.
Sure.
Thank you very much, sir, and it was really a wonderful session on especially on government topic. जिस प्रकार से नवनीत सर आपने कवर किया, आई होप कि सबकी क्वेरीज और सबके बहुत सारे जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है वो क्लियर हो गई थी. कुछ क्वेरीज तो आखिरी तक चलती रहेंगी, वो हम कोशिश करेंगे कंपाइल करके. रायपुर ब्रांच विल ट्राई इट्स बेस्ट कि वो अपने मेंबर्स को दे दे. वंस अगेन आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक यू, एंड वन memento is due to you, sir, as it's a webinar, we cannot provide it to you. I can see कि मैं आपके पीछे देख सकता हूँ बहुत सारे मोमेंटोज हैं. So
रायपुर ब्रांच का भी है सर, रायपुर ब्रांच का भी है.
आप पहले भी हमारे को इस तरह से आपने अपनी सर्विसेज दी है. एक मोमेंटो और हमारी तरफ से ड्यू रहेगा सर. जब भी आप फिजिकली नेक्स्ट टाइम रायपुर उपस्थित होंगे, तो रायपुर ब्रांच एक आपको आज के एक वेबिनार का एक मोमेंटो उस समय प्रस्तुत करेगी. थैंक यू वेरी मच सर, एंड नेक्स्ट सेशन के लिए
थैंक यू सो मच.
थैंक यू सर. नेक्स्ट सेशन के लिए जतिन हरजाई सर हमारे बीच में है. एक्चुअली एक थोड़ा सा रीशफलिंग हो गया. जतिन हरजाई सर का सेशन 6 बजे था, कुछ कारणवश हमें उनको पहले करना पड़ा, एंड गौरव गुप्ता सर का सेशन हमें बाद में करना पड़ा है. तो जतिन हरजाई सर इज विद अस. सर आप सुन पा रहे हैं, आवाज आ रही है? सर अनम्यूट करेंगे जतिन सर आप. जतिन सर आपका माइक म्यूट है, उसको आप अनम्यूट करेंगे. करण एक बार चेक करिए क्या प्रॉब्लम है.
Is it audible now?
सर आवाज आ रही है आपको?
Yes, I can hear you very well. आपको ठीक आ रही है क्या आवाज, ये बता दीजिए.
Perfect sir, perfect. And I see Ravi Gwalani welcome you on behalf of Raipur branch of ICAI sir. And आपके लिए इंट्रोडक्शन करने के लिए आई थिंक कि जो अभी थोड़ी देर बाद पार्टिसिपेंट्स देखेंगे जितने भी आपके पीछे, आई कैन सी एन नंबर ऑफ मोमेंटोज फ्रॉम द स्क्रीन, एंड दैट शोज कि आप किसी पहचान के मोहताज नहीं है, किसी भी चीज की जरूरत नहीं है, लेकिन स्टिल एक परंपरा के अनुसार रायपुर ब्रांच की और हमारी आईसीआई की, मैं रायपुर ब्रांच में क्रिकेट टीम के कैप्टन है सीए रवि जैन जी, मैं उनको आमंत्रित करूंगा आपका एक ब्रीफ प्रोफाइल रीड करने के लिए. सीए रवि जैन जी.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Very good evening, ji.
Sir, I, C. Ravi Jain, on behalf of Raipur branch, welcome you. Mr. Jatin Harjai is a practicing advocate. He practiced as chartered accountant for more than 15 years before starting legal practice. He's founder and leader at JHA Legal and mentor at GST World. In short span of time, he has become recognized for his contribution and expertise as a knowledgeable professional advisor and consultant in the field of financial consultancy and tax advisory. With a core expertise in indirect taxes, he has been serving entrepreneurs and various corporates in varied areas like compliance, consulting, structuring, and litigation. There are many landmark judgments to his credit. Many are published in leading tax journals. He is having vast industry experience, including that of infrastructure, mining, real estate, construction, hospitality, broadcasting, manufacturing, e-commerce, etc. Mr. Harjai is consultant in the World Bank project for GST implementation for Government of Rajasthan. He is accredited trainer of National Academy of Customs and Indirect Taxes.
पूरी की जगह ना आप conclude कर सकते हो. I think we should go ahead. We have less time.
Sure, sir. No problem. Once again, I welcome you on behalf of Raipur branch. Please, sir, continue.
सही बात है, बहुत लिमिटेड टाइम था, इतना बड़ा प्रोफाइल है सर का कि बहुत वाकई में सर ने इंटरप्ट कर लिया, नहीं तो हम आगे और बढ़ते. विदाउट टेकिंग मच ऑफ द टाइम मैं सर डायरेक्ट आपको हैंड ओवर करता हूं फॉर योर डेलिब्रेशन. थैंक यू सर एंड वेलकम टू रायपुर ब्रांच.
Thank you very much, Ravi ji, and rather both the Ravi Jis.
Both the Ravi ji.
So anyways, chairman साहब नहीं है आज?
Sir, I am here.
चेयरमैन सर है सर.
अच्छा, okay, fine. So first of all, Kishore ji, chairman of the branch, Ravi Galwani ji, secretary of the branch, my co-speaker Navneet ji. I don't know whether he is there or he has left the particular program. Ravi ji, MOC, or who introduced me. Very good evening to all of you. Rather, it's it's 5 o'clock, no? It's a good evening to all of you. We just entered into this era. So it's always lovely to speak with all the professionals about this particular, I would say, new subject. At times we can say it's a 3-year-old, but actually 3 year is nothing in, if we talk about any legislation, more specifically tax legislation, because it's going to be work out in times to come. अभी हमारे यहाँ notices आना start हुए हैं. It will take time कि किन किन चीजों के ऊपर notices आने हैं. Allow me to share my PPT as well. I think I can do that. Yes. Is it okay if I mix Hindi bit?
यस सर, वही मैं बोलने वाला था. आप हिंदी इंग्लिश मिक्स में बात करिए, नो प्रॉब्लम सर.
Okay, fine. See, जो टॉपिक आज का मुझे दिया गया है, that's how to respond to the notices, summons, or maybe certain inquiries. So please mind, I'm not going to discuss the core provisions of the particular law. If we talk about GST law में maybe computational mechanism किस तरीके से है, levy कैसे होगा, और for that matter RCM लगेगा या नहीं लगेगा, ITC मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा, supply है यानी something. I'm not going to discuss that. जो मैं आज discuss आपसे करने वाला हूँ, that's उसकी importance क्या है? I will take at least 10 to 15 minutes time in discussing that. क्योंकि एक बार वो समझ में आएगा, then only you will be able to interested in कि ये क्या क्या important बातें हैं. और maybe जितना हम core law पढ़ते हैं, maybe आप सब लोग अपने आप से अगर पूछने जाएंगे आज की डेट में कि 1 जुलाई 2017 से GST आया, तो GST आने के बाद से आपने कितना टाइम डिवोट किया सप्लाई, ITC, वैल्यूएशन, प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई को समझने में, एंड कितना टाइम डिवोट किया डिमांड एंड रिकवरी असेसमेंट के प्रोविजंस को पढ़ने में. सो वो कौन सा कितना वर्थ करता है, ये आपको अपना अपना एनालिसिस अपने आप करना है. विद दैट सी बेसिकली मैं आपको स्टार्ट करता हूं एक बेसिक पॉइंट से स्टार्ट करते हैं. वी अंडरस्टैंड दैट बहुत सारे नोटिसेज आ रहे हैं. मैंने कपल ऑफ कुछ नोटिसेज आपके सामने रखे जो बहुत हॉट आए आज की डेट में. सब लोगों का कंसर्न है दैट 16.4, 36.4, 2A से कुछ मैच नहीं हो रहा है, 1 और 3B में आपस में डिफरेंस आ गया, ट्रांजिशनल क्रेडिट का इश्यू, सो मेनी थिंग्स आर देयर. सो ये सारे के सारे नोटिसेज हैं. इनके मेरिट पार्ट्स में डिस्कस नहीं कर रहा हूं. अगर किसी की क्वेरी होगी देन डेफिनेटली आई विल बी हैप्पी टू रिस्पोंड यू ऑन एनी एस्पेक्ट्स ऑन द मेरिट पार्ट्स. सो लेट मी स्टार्ट विद अ वेरी बेसिक फंडामेंटल ऑफ द लॉ. वी ऑल नो दैट देयर इज अथॉरिटी टू लेवी एनी टैक्सेशन comes from article 261. अगर आपने मेरी बात को ध्यान से सुना होगा तो मैंने भी वही चीज एक बोली जो हम कॉमनली बात करते, authority to levy. But let us read this particular article of the Constitution of India. Article 265 specifically says no tax shall be levied or collected except by authority of law. No, there are not only it is levy, it's levy as well as collection. Both the things has to be through the authority of law. अब यहाँ डिफरेंस हमको समझना पड़ेगा, क्या लेवी है क्या कलेक्शन है, दोनों में फर्क क्या है. दोनों चीजें अथॉरिटी ऑफ लॉ से होनी चाहिए. लेवी की जब हम बात करते हैं तो प्रिसाइजली हम कह सकते हैं लेवी एंड उसका जो कंप्यूटेशनल मैकेनिज्म है वो एक साथ चलते हैं. जैसे कि सेक्शन 9 में जीएसटी में बोला गया देयर शैल बी अ लेवीड अ टैक्स ऑन इतना इतना, टैक्स देने वाला टैक्सेबल पर्सन, लगेगा किसके ऊपर, इंटरेस्ट रेट सप्लाईज के ऊपर. दिस इज व्हाट लेवी. वैल्यू कैसे होगा, जैसे सेक्शन 15 में दिया. तो लेवी क्या क्या अपने साथ में लेके चल रहा है, किस चीज के ऊपर टैक्स लगना है दैट इज अ सप्लाई, कितना टैक्स लगना है दैट इज रेट नोटिफिकेशन, किस वैल्यू के ऊपर लगना है दैट इज एज पर वैल्यूएशन प्रोविजन, कौन सा टैक्स लगना है इंटरेस्ट रेट वाला या इंटरेस्ट रेट का सीजीएसटी एसजीएसटी, सो ये सारा का सारा जो है ये लेवी की बात करते हैं। जब कलेक्टेड की बात करते हैं हम, तो कलेक्टेड का मतलब है कि गवर्नमेंट कैसे कलेक्ट करेगी एसएससी से। प्लीज माइंड, इट इज नॉट अ कलेक्टेड कि भाई असेसी कैसे अपने बायर से रिकवर करेगा, इट्स नॉट दैट कलेक्टेड। Even the terminology used in section 9 refers to the collection by the government. It says collected as may be notified. So collection जो होगा वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कैसे। अगर और आज मैं जो बात करने वाला हूं आप लोगों से वो पूरा की पूरी कलेक्शन पर बात करने वाला हूं। अगर कलेक्शन प्रॉपर तरीके से नहीं है तो प्लीज माइंड, सुप्रीम कोर्ट कैटेगरिकली सेड अगर कलेक्शन प्रॉपर नहीं है, इन दैट केस ये माना जाएगा कि वो जो टैक्स की लेवी है दैट इज नॉट प्रॉपर। दिस जजमेंट ऑफ म्युनिसिपल काउंसिल वर्सेस कमल कुमार, दिस इज अ जजमेंट इन रिलेशन टू म्युनिसिपल टैक्सेस, नॉट विद द इनकम टैक्स और द जीएसटी, बट स्क्वायरली कवर्स ऑल टैक्सेस। इसी चीज को थोड़ा सा मूर्त रूप देने के लिए क्यों मैं इस चीज के ऊपर इतना फोकस कर रहा हूं, लेट मी शेयर विद यू सम स्टैटिस्टिक्स। मैं आप लोगों से एक छोटा सा क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा हूं, आई विल रिक्वेस्ट एवरीवन टू रेस्पॉन्ड। आपके सामने मैंने एक चार्ट रखा है, सिंपली आपको एक चीज का जवाब देना है कि मान के चलिए कोई असेसिंग अथॉरिटी है, वो केसेस बनाते हैं कि भाई उन्होंने 100 केसेस बनाए, तो उनमें से वो कितनी रिकवरी कर पाते हैं। एक जस्ट गैस वर्क आपकी तरफ से, आई विल अप्रिशिएट इफ यू पुट इट इन योर चैट बॉक्स, कि अगर 100 रुपए का आपने डिमांड बनाई है तो 100 रुपए में से कितने की रिकवरी कर लेते होंगे। Okay, very good. I'm receiving some answer. 30%, 10%, 25%, 30%, less than 10%, 16%, 60%, 6060, 10%. Okay, thank you very much for your responses. So many responses are 40%, 30%, 25%, 25. Okay, fine, fair enough. So 70%. Okay, great. So expectations are much more at place, but please mind, no one has reached to the realistic figure. No one. And even near to that. अगर मैं आपसे सर्विस टैक्स और एक्साइज के कितना डिमांड किया गया और कितना एक्चुअली में रिकवरी कर पाया डिपार्टमेंट, इफ आई डिस्कस यू विद दिस, इफ आई शेयर द डेटा विद यू, यू विल बी सरप्राइज्ड. It's less than 2%. Rather, it has decreased as far as service tax and excise is concerned. And the biggest contributor in it is the collection mechanism of the department was not proper. Biggest contributor. So, see, आप लोगों ने एक चीज बड़ा कॉमन सुना होगा कि जब भी हम असेसी को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं तो माय ड्यूटी इज आई शुड रिप्रेजेंट हिम इन अ बेस्ट पॉसिबल मैनर, नॉट ओनली ऑन माय स्ट्रेंथ्स, rather on the weakness of the opponent also, on the respondent also. यानी अगर डिपार्टमेंट ने कोई गलती की है तो उसको भी रेज करना मेरी ड्यूटी है, मेरे केस के मेरिट्स तो मुझे बात करनी करनी. सो ये अगर आप देखेंगे तो ये यहां से निकल के आता है, ये इस प्रोविजन से निकल के आएगा कि आपका सप्लाई लगना नहीं लगना, वो मेरिट्स की बात है, वो डिमांड खड़ी हो गई. जब डिमांड आपने बीच में जो भी रिस्पॉन्स दिया उसके हिसाब से जो भी डिसाइड होना था वो डिमांड खड़ी हो गई, लेकिन टेक्निकल रीजंस की वजह से बड़ा जो चंक है वो रिकवरी हो ही नहीं पाती है. एक और एस्पेक्ट्स, मतलब मैंने जो बेसिकली आपसे शेयर किया वो ये शेयर किया कि एट टाइम्स व्हाट हैपन व्हेनेवर देयर इज एन इंक्वायरी, व्हेनेवर देयर इज एन इंस्पेक्शन, व्हेनेवर देयर इज एन नोटिस, व्हेनेवर देयर इज अ समन, आई बिलीव एट GST more than 90% cases are there which has some errors. Hello, there are some issues I think in internet, just some.
आपकी वॉइस क्रैक हो रही थी.
I think there is some message with me also that there is an issue in internet, but I don't know it's connected properly. I think whether screen is shared or not as of now.
So it's हाँ sir, it's visible.
Okay, fine. I think voice okay है. If it is not okay, please do interrupt me.
जी sir, please. Voice okay है sir. आपका वीडियो थोड़ा ब्लर हो रहा है बीच बीच में, but voice is.
I think I should stop the video. I think it will increase the voice quality.
कर सकते हैं sir, no issue.
Okay. So I was on this part कि कोई भी अगर मान के चलिए नोटिस आता है, समन आता है, इंक्वायरी इनिशिएट होती है, then with my experience I can say जितने भी ये इंक्वायरी या नोटिसेस आ रहे हैं, इनमें 90% से ज्यादा में कोई ना कोई टेक्निकल गलती है, कोई ना कोई टेक्निकल गलती है, which is sufficient enough कि वो वाला केस खत्म हो जाए till the time it gets finality. This is what my understanding. लेकिन उसके पहले एक चीज बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है जो हम सब लोगों को समझ में आना चाहिए, वो ये है कि ये किस स्टेज के ऊपर उठाना चाहिए ये पर्टिकुलर ऑब्जेक्शन। मान के चलिए जैसे डिन इज अ वेरी कॉमन फीचर, वी ऑल नो डिन इज अ वेरी वेरी कॉमन फीचर, तो डिन का जैसे ऑब्जेक्शन है ये कैसे उठाएं हम, या और फॉर दैट मैटर लेट अस अंडरस्टैंड, आई एम श्योर कि मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल आर डीलिंग इन इनकम टैक्स। मैं एक बहुत छोटी सी और कॉमन सी आप सब लोगों को एक बात बोलता हूं, लेट अस अज्यूम देयर वाज सम इंक्वायरी इन द इनकम टैक्स and you get a notice under section 148 for a period of let's say 2000-2001 on today. What will be your first reaction? आप कहेंगे टाइम बार्ड हो गया, अभी कुछ करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है। क्या आप देखेंगे क्या वो इनकम एक्चुअली टैक्सेबल थी या नहीं थी? एग्जैक्टली इन द सिमिलर मैनर ये सिर्फ एक लिमिटेशन पॉइंट की बात है, और भी बहुत सारे इश्यूज हो सकते हैं जो कि सब लोगों को एग्जामिन करने चाहिए। लेकिन द मोमेंट यू गेट सम एग्जामिनेशन वन शुड इंटीमेट इट टू द डिपार्टमेंट कि आपके जो नोटिसेस वगैरह में ये कमी है थ्रू अ प्रिलिमिनरी ऑब्जेक्शन। मैं उसकी और इंपॉर्टेंस थोड़ी बताता हूं, वो क्यों ज्यादा हो जाता है प्रिलिमिनरी ऑब्जेक्शन की इंपॉर्टेंस। मान के चलिए किसी के यहां पर कोई सर्च हुआ, लेट अस से डीजीजीआई ने एक सर्च किया आज किसी के यहां, एंड यू आर ऑफ द फर्म बिलीव दैट जो डीजीजीआई ने सर्च किया दैट वाज विदाउट प्रॉपर ऑथराइजेशन, उसमें जो भी ऑथराइजेशन वगैरह प्रॉपर होने चाहिए थे लॉफुल तरीके से नहीं है, एंड ये इट्स एब्सोल्युटली लीगल, और यू गॉट सम समन ऑन व्हिच वन मे बी सम इन सम डेफिशिएंसीज आर देयर।
सर एक मिनट इंटरप्ट करूंगा आपको मैं, जो आपकी स्लाइड है ना वो ब्लैंक है सर।
नो प्रॉब्लम, इट्स स्टिल ब्लैंक फ्रॉम माय साइड आल्सो।
ओके ओके, बस वो एक कंफ्यूजन था। फाइन सर। सो एक जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट आता है, एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल के तौर पर आपको ले रहा हूं कि मान के चलिए किसी एक व्यक्ति के यहाँ डीजीजीआई का सर्च हो गया आज, और सर्च होने के बाद सारे के सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स उठा के ले गए डिपार्टमेंट वाले, व्हिच इज अ यूजुअल प्रैक्टिस। व्हाट हैपेंस, अभी मान के चलिए आप कोर्ट में जाते हैं और कोर्ट में जाके ये कहते हैं कि हाँ भाई ये सर्च इलीगल है, या ये सर्च इलीगल है, ये वाली चीज आप कहते हैं, और कोर्ट उसको क्वेश्चन कर देता है। Now what gonna happen? You got the relief chapter ends there. किसी के यहाँ सर्च हुआ या किसी के यहाँ कोई नोटिस आया, सम्मन आया, आपको लगता है ये सम्मन था, ये जो बिल्कुल इलीगल था, नोटिस था, नोटिस बिल्कुल गलत आया है, you went to the court and its court has quashed it. So you got the relief chapter ends. Now take a second example. Let us assume कोई सम्मन आता है, कोई नोटिस आता है, या कोई इंस्पेक्शन होता है, सर्च होता है, उसके बाद as usual